Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackman.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, had it deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackman, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football. It's up for grabs. It's covered in the end zone by Will Blackman for a Green Bay touchdown.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast network. I'm Ric Bucher. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can find me on Twitter at Ric Bucher. He is Will Blackman. You can find him on Twitter at Will Blackman. And you can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. So, football is supposedly over. We're past the Super Bowl. But nay.
Football is never over, okay?
Okay. I forgot who I was talking to. The football season is supposed to be over. But
it's tattooed on my forearm. Football 24/7. Sorry, I keep interrupting. Go ahead.
Is that seriously? You got the tattoo? Let me see. Let me see.
I can't. Dude, it's weird. It's on my forearm. I can't lift it up.
Okay.
I'll show you upside down. It's weird. I don't know.
I got you, ladies and gentlemen. He's not kidding. Okay, so this is supposed to be rest time. In fact, I saw Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network, who does the Red Zone, said, I think he was the one who tweeted out, so this is what Sunday is like. And he obviously was not paying attention to the Alliance of American Football, the fledgling league that just started on Saturday and played 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. We're recording this Sunday night, and I watched one of the game. I watched Salt Lake and Arizona, and I have my thoughts. But you tell me, what was your first impression of the Alliance of American Football?
Well, just know you are talking to the man who just loves football in general. Like, I actually. Last year, I bought the ESPN Plus pass just so I could watch Canadian football. I love watching arena football. When I was in Jacksonville, I would go to the Jacksonville Sharks. When I was in Green Bay, I'd go see the Green Bay Blizzard. I'll go watch flag football. I'll watch any kind of football. I'll watch it. So
okay, but are you a discerning football fan? Do you just watch everything and love everything, or do you watch everything and can grade? Can you be objective?
I can watch everything and grade. Now, but there are 2 sides. There is Will Blackman, the football fan. Yeah. And also Will Blackman, the football critic.
Okay.
I can sit back and, like the first games yesterday, I truly just watched football. I didn't think of anything like, oh, the quarterback play or this guy did play. I just watched as a fan. Today, I did watch, critiquing some things and noticed a couple of things. But no, this is really good football. And the cool thing about it is, it's ran by guys from the NFL. It's coached by coaches from the NFL. Yeah. And there's tons of players from the NFL. It's really smart when they did the allocation thing because it's, based on either where they went to college or where they last played pro ball because the fans recognize those players. Yeah. So
the natural comparison is the AAF, as it's known, is naturally compared to the XFL, which is the last time that someone tried to take an off-season pro football league. And I have to say that the XFL reflected who was running it. Vince McMahon was at the head of it, and it ended up striking me as being as much kind of pro wrestling as it was professional football. It was Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol, and XFL didn't last very long. It seemed to be about all the bells and whistles. We're gonna appeal. Honestly, it felt like they were trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator when it came to football fans. This feels completely different, and the fact that it was founded and it's being run by Charlie Ebersol, Dick's son, and Bill Polian tells me exactly why I saw what I saw today. I was impressed. and you know football far better than I, but it was clean football. It wasn't gimmicky football. There was some skill out on the field, and whether it's because they gave them enough run-up time as opposed to the XFL, but they looked like teams, and they looked like they knew what they were doing. And then you go to, like, I loved the ancillary stuff. I loved the uniforms. I loved the logos.
We're gonna stop right there. You loved what? The uniforms?
I loved the uniforms. Now, I don't know if I loved every uniform, but some of them, man, they popped. The colors that they chose, I was all over that.
So you love the colors?
Yeah. Well, what do you? You seem to be getting to something. Is there something about the uniforms you didn't like?
I loved everything about it, but the uniforms.
You loved everything but the uniforms.
Yeah, but the uniforms.
What about Birmingham? What about that?
I like the Arizona Hotspots. I like their colors. I think.
Okay.
I think they're gonna grow on me, their uniforms, but everything else was, I don't know. There wasn't enough swag. I was trying to imagine how can I swag that uniform out if I played in AAF, and I just couldn't figure it out.
Interesting.
So, but continued. I'm sorry. The logos were cool. Yeah.
The logos are very cool. It just felt like everything was thought out.
Everything was thought out.
Yes.
Yes. It seemed very organized.
And thought out by football people.
Yeah.
Now, their first game went up against the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder and rated it. The ratings were higher for the AAF game than for the Rockets Thunder game on ABC. And Darren Ravel put some tweet out there pointing that out, right? Ooh, watch out, right? And and then just like there was a ton of people that came down on it. They're like, look, the X, and I think they got a 2.9 and the Rockets Thunder got a 2.0 or something like that. The XFL, actually, their first game got like a 9.5. I mean, they blew it through the roof and then just spiraled after that. And everybody came down on Darren Ravel for like jumping out there and suggesting that the AAF is going to outshine the NBA based on that opening game. I have to say, I tend to agree with the critics on that front in terms of, look,
take it easy, dude.
I'm an NBA guy.
Everybody was curious.
Yes,
so of course everybody
curious.
Tuned in.
Everybody was curious. Based on what I saw, I would say it's sustainable. Do I think that it's going to leapfrog the NBA in the hierarchy? Look, I'm a basketball guy. I wasn't really paying attention to Rockets Thunder at this point. It wasn't like appointment viewing for me. I wanted to check in on a couple things, but it wasn't like I needed to watch that game. So, and those are two small markets. I mean, Houston's
we're talking
fairly sized
82.
market,
We're talking 82 games here. Like,
yeah.
Let's match these numbers up in a month or so.
Yes,
okay?
exactly.
That's
exactly my point. But I will say, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, even the Arizona Salt Lake game wasn't really a game after the midway through the third quarter. Arizona pulled away, but it was good, entertaining, clean, respectable football played at a respectable level. And I was thinking, you know what? I would not have a problem tuning into this again or kind of figuring out, being interested to see who ends up shining in this league and seeing faces like, Rick Neuheisel on one sideline and Dennis Erickson on the other, and Kristen Hackenberg, a lot of familiar names from the NFL.
Coach Spurrier down in Orlando.
Case in point. You know what I'm really curious about? You probably would know, what's the salary scale? What do you think these coaches are making? What are the players making?
The coaches, I believe, they're making $500. I believe the head coaches are
$500,000.
$500,000 to coach. I believe that's what it is. Okay. And the players are getting $250 over 3 years.
Okay.
Housing paid for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of these are in smaller markets, so your money probably goes a little further. It's not like you're in New York.
Right. Exactly. You got like Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Arizona. You know, the biggest thing, we mentioned the XFL, the biggest benefit for the Alliance Football League is that they have support from the NFL. That's the biggest thing.
I agree.
Is that they have their support, almost like, hey, we'll treat it almost like, a developmental league.
Right.
We'll put you on the network. We'll show these coaches. We'll show these players. And it's beneficial for everybody in general, for that league, for the coaches, for assistant coaches who want to get into coaching, for players who want another chance. I'm all for any league to give guys other chances.
Sure.
Because I've been that guy who I missed a year of football before. And I signed an arena football contract because I was trying to put film out there. So to show that I can play. I went to Canada this year for the same reason. To show people that, hey, I can still play. Because not everyone gets in the door. There's a lot of misses. So this is a good chance for a lot of guys to truly put their skills on display on big networks in front of former GMs, former head coaches of the NFL. I think it's just an incredible deal.
Yeah. The other thing that they did, there's so many things that were savvy and smart, both on the football side, but also on the TV side. And that's as important as anything else. All the commercials, they never leave. They had a sense of, like, we don't want this to be too long. They knew what, like, a hit movie, basically based the length of these games, what they're looking for on, like, 2 hours, the most that people will watch a hit movie. Basically judging, on attention span of the average consumer, this is what we want to give them. They never break from the game. The commercials are in picture, and they don't do instant replay. So, like, there's just so many smart things that there are football fans out there that are going to see this as a breath of fresh air.
Right, like you said, well thought out.
Yeah.
On everything. You know what, though? And another rule change, like, I'm not, as a former returner, I'm not mad that there are any kickoffs. I don't mind that. Even though that's very exciting, a kickoff, it's, to start the game off. I love how they bring, an NFL legend out to slam the ball down on the X. Like, let's get it started.
Right.
Like, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you think of the substitute for the onside kick? Because I think they have an opportunity to have to gain like 12 yards.
Like that. Yeah, like a 4th and 12 scenario.
Yeah. In order to get it back. I mean, it's so different. I don't know what to make of it. As a player, as a former player, what do you think of that as the vehicle to an onside kick?
I like the fact that they're taking the kickers out as much as possible. No extra points. Yeah. No kickoffs.
But you do have field goals.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. I saw a field goal kicker hit the upright.
No extra points though.
Yeah, no. But they do have field goal. They do have field goal.
Yeah. That's why I said as much as possible.
Yeah. Their overtime is each team. It's almost like a high school. I think it's Texas or maybe Kansas high school, where you start on the 10-yard line, and you have 4 chances to get in, and if the score's still tied after both teams have a chance to get in from the 10, then it remains a tie and we move on. That's a different one too. From the 10-yard line, you got 4 downs. I got to think most of the time you're getting into the end zone.
10. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I like the situation of football. That's cool. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised that it was as good as it was, because I'm always skeptical when people see a sport and you want to expand on it, and you're going to take the talent level down a notch. Is it going to be the same? And obviously, this isn't the same, but it's good football. And this is what I really appreciate, I think, more than anything else. Because I see a lot of leagues, even professional leagues, the NBA, Major League Baseball, there are forces within those sports that don't trust the entertainment value of the sport itself. They think they have to trick it up. And for all the things that the AAF is doing, I don't think it's tricking it up. I feel as if they're still trusting the essence of the sport.
Oh, yeah. It's still the core values and the true essence of football is there. It's just like, how can we be different?
Yeah.
You can't put the same thing out there. And how can we be different than NFL? How can we be different in college? How can we be different in Canada? How can we be different in NFL Europe? What makes us unique? What makes us different? And like you said, it is well thought out. And I think, I feel like we're going to be pleasantly surprised, too, with the XFL. I think due to their failure in finally getting football people, that's the thing, too. You need, not only with organizations, but with teams, you need football people, and they're making the football decisions.
Right.
I look at something unique, like, a couple of the teams are going to be in major stadiums. And this is the XFL. Like the New York team is going to be in MetLife.
Right.
The Seattle team is going to be in CenturyLink. The Tampa team is going to be in Raymond James.
So is that good or is that bad?
I think that's great. The fact that those stadiums signed off on it.
It's good that they signed off on it.
You mean there's going to be like 10 people there?
Exactly. If there's, you could even have a decent crowd. You could have 8,000 and people are going to look at this cavernous stadium that has 8,000 people in it. And the fact that the AAF was able to get out there and we're still going to wait on the XFL. The XFL is going to be the third onto the boat. I just wonder whether there's going to be a certain saturation or now you're going up not only against the NFL, but the AAF is going to create a presence. We've just talked glowingly about all the things that they're doing. Now the XFL is going to have to find their own little swath, their own path where they create something unique and special without becoming distorted. Trying too hard to be different or be unique or be eye-catching, whatever it is. This, by the way, leads us perfectly into the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is Bob Costas' piece by ESPN about his being dismissed from basically his relationship with NBC ending, and the talk or the suggestion that the reason that happened was because he addressed the subject of concussions on the broadcast, and that he was told that he had crossed the line. Now, I don't know that you and I have ever talked at length about concussions. And right. I worked once upon a time with radio co-host Nicole Zalumas, who worked for the NFL Network. I've done work for NBA TV, even as a sideline reporter on NBA broadcasts with ESPN and with TNT. I've always understood that when I'm in that role, it gets a little confusing, maybe more than a little, but I got the immediate sense that when I was a sideline reporter on game broadcasts, the relationship between my employer, whether it be ESPN or Turner, TNT, and the NBA put me in a different place. Like I wasn't the senior writer of the magazine. I wasn't a guy who appeared on Outside the Lines or Sports Center. I was almost a co-star of this production that was presenting the NBA. And my reporting and my role was a little bit different than it would be anyplace else. So I wonder for you, as you enter this field and working for NFL Network, which I would equate with like working for NBA TV, you're obviously directly connected with the league that you analyze and talk about. First of all, how do you, when you hear the story about Bob Costas, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What do you think?
It's just one of those discussions that everyone is always talking about. It's hard to, you can't say those things before you're about to actually, celebrate that actual sport. You can't go there and celebrate it and talk great things and then say like, these guys are destroying their brains. At the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. I would never let if I had a son 12 years old with all that talent, there's no way in hell I'm letting him play football, you know? And then you're going to go and broadcast a sport that you just are not a fan of because of the long-term effects. Like, that's tough.
Right. Yeah, this gets into ethics. This gets into personal judgment, integrity, and really, and more so today than ever before. Everybody in the business of covering sports, once upon a time, it was you just covered the sport. That's all you talked about. You didn't talk about domestic violence. You didn't talk about concussions. You didn't talk about the use of Adderall and prescription drugs and like all of that. And yet now it feels as if the coverage of sports, we've opened Pandora's box and we cover everything, and everything is out there being discussed. And if you're not discussing it, then people wonder, well, why aren't you? Because everybody else is. Everybody else is talking about it. And it becomes tricky. And I'm with you in this sense. I don't know how you can work on a broadcast or with, because this is, again, ESPN kind of blurs the line because there are departments of ESPN that still attempt to do journalism, honest journalism. And then they have broadcast partners, which is a different animal. It's a completely different animal. But I don't know how you work in the broadcast aspects of the company and then want to critique the sport that you're basically a partner with in presenting. And that's where if you have an issue with football, if Bob Costas has an issue with football, then he shouldn't be working the Super Bowl.
Right.
And it shouldn't be them taking him off it. He should say, I can't do this because I have an issue. Now that we know what football does, I can't celebrate its great game and be a part of that show. So, but look, there's also, everybody's got their career and you have opportunities and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Am I going to stand on my principles and give up my gig with the Super Bowl? Is there a middle line? Is there a middle line that I can find with my employers and with the league and whatnot? And I haven't read the whole piece, so I don't know whether he ever. I know the essay that he presented it to his bosses, something that he had never done before, and so he did try to at least make them aware of where he was going to go. But I tend to agree with you, and I didn't think I would, as we started this when you first brought it up. But having all the experience that I have, I get it. It depends on who you're working for. You have to acknowledge who you're working for.
Right. They said, we don't. Those are his opinions. Those aren't ours. We're not going to support that and back that up, So,
right.
Concussions. Watch out. I had a bad one, by the way.
Really?
I had a bad one against the Cardinals making a tackle.
Tell me about it.
I hit Larry
remember
Fitzgerald. Oh, yeah. Actually, I do. I remember the whole thing. So I went and made a perfect form tackle, hit Larry Fitzgerald. He actually put his head down into my neck. And I just remembered the whole right side of my body shut off, right? And then I looked up.
What do you mean shut off? Like you couldn't feel it?
Oh, yeah. And then I looked up towards my sideline, and the field was flipped upside down. So the sky was
no
at the
way.
bottom, the grass.
No way,
yeah, dude. And so my vision was so messed up. I just put my head down and I just went to sleep for a little bit, hoping that everything will come back to normal.
Wait a minute, right there on the field?
Oh yeah. I think I have the video of it. I'll send it to you. Got laid out, man. And then I go to the sideline and I feel fine. My body feels fine, but something's off. I totally do not remember the game plan. Mm. However, part of the protocol was you have to say the months backwards. That's part of the concussion protocol.
Okay. I don't even know I could do that right now.
And I swear, I said it backwards so fast.
Really?
Like on the money. Oh yeah. And I had to do like all the presidents. Like I had to do these crazy tests, and I
wait a minute. All the presidents? Get out of here!
Weird. No, something weird like that, and I smoked it. Straight.
Nobody smokes all the presidents,
dude. I'm telling you, it was the weirdest thing. But
you probably couldn't do it now.
I couldn't do it now. That's why. That's why it's funny. Even the months, I can do the months, but I'm telling you, the way I did the months was crazy. I just rattled them off, and then I got up, and I swear I did not know the game. I thought I was a receiver. I did not know the game plan. I didn't know what was going on.
Next, you're going to tell me, and you know what was really amazing? I did it all in French.
I know. That would be crazy. But yeah, that was probably the worst one I got. I only probably had three concussions. 2 actually I came out the game for in my 12-year career. I've been fortunate.
See, here's the thing. We can talk about it and we can laugh about it. And seeing you and assuming that
I'm okay.
What? Yeah,
I'm okay now. So
you're okay. You seem to be okay. Who knows, 10 years from now, whatever, but
I'll be good.
But here's the difficulty is that in a lot of cases we see the aftermath. We've seen the concussion movie. We know what happened to Junior Seau. Like
I still haven't seen a concussion movie.
Oh, well.
I know.
I'm not going to tell you should, but I honestly seeing that, hearing the stories, seeing video of guys, hearing the stories about guys and what's happened to them later on in life, it changes how I view somebody getting their bell rung. And even saying that, like, somebody got their bell rung, right?
Bell rung's a concussion.
I know that, but I mean...
That's what's crazy.
That's how we kind of anesthetize the whole idea. You didn't get a concussion, you got your bell rung, right?
Yeah, that's the whole gladiator thing. Like, okay, I got stunned for a minute, I'm good. I just got my bell rung.
Exactly.
Because I gained conscious quicker.
Right. And so... It's harder for me when you see a big hit and you see a guy get laid out and he gets back up and everything and you see him all wobbly. It used to be, it was like, oh, wow. You'd almost say like, woo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that same level of enthusiasm for those hits because I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean for that guy?
I do when they're clean. Like if the dude gets hit square in the chest and gets blasted, that's like I'm like, oh, man. But if a dude got hit in the face, I'm like, that's kind of tough.
Yeah. But anyway,
I have another funny concussion story.
Oh, okay. This is...
It's not funny you put it in.
Oh, no, yeah, right. You're going to test my theory. Go ahead.
No. So we played the Seahawks, and once again, I made another tackle. Perfect tackle. I keep hitting these big guys. And then I stood up, and I was on the Jaguars. We were playing the Seahawks in CenturyLink in Seattle. I made a hit. And then I stood up and I looked to the other sideline. Our other sideline must have been about a mile away. and the yard line.
So your vision is the first thing that goes when
the yard line was moving. It was so squiggly. It was like a 30-yard line, and it was so wobbly, And I just usually I'm like, okay, I'm good, and I literally took a standing 8 count. I just took a knee. I was like, hey, guys, come get me. Come get me, guys.
That's not nearly as good as you deciding, you know what, I'm just going to take a little nap right here.
No, I took it because usually I'm good. I walked back one time. I was kind of wobbly when I was in Green Bay. And but this one.
So you're telling me, though, after getting whacked a couple of times to that degree, you haven't had any subsequent issues? Like headaches,
you mean like,
or memory lapses or anything that you would look at and say, yeah, I felt that.
I probably, but once again, remember, this goes back to like got my bell rung. I've been playing tackle since I was 7.
Okay. So how many times do you think you've been concussed?
Maybe over 100.
Seriously?
If you want to say bell rung.
Yeah.
Meaning, boom, get hit.
Yeah.
I'm back immediately. If that's considered concussion, then
okay.
Interesting.
Well, the other thing
now diagnosed.
Yeah.
In my whole life, I've been playing since I was 7, all the way to 34. I mean, maybe 3.
Okay. See, I'm convinced that it also that not everybody is subject to concussions in the same way. For whatever reason, my daughter has a friend who she plays soccer and she's been concussed like 5 or 6 times, and now it's almost like if almost anything happens, she's subject and she's got to take like months off, and she has the.
That's what's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a niece who I had no idea. Like, do you know that synchronized swimming has more concussions like per athlete than almost any other sport?
Well, they whack each other in an accident?
Yeah, I don't know. They like fall on top of each other, or they whatever, or they're practicing on the swim deck, and that's all I know is that like concussions are a huge issue in synchronized swimming. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because it's like we have all this technology, all these new helmets that are coming out. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, none of these helmets can prevent a brain from shaking.
Right.
You know, that's the one thing about it is like no matter what you put out, people are going to get the helmets are better than they were now. They're not leather helmets. It's to like crack your skull. But your brain will be shaken no matter what.
Well, I just think, as a soccer player, I mean, how much heading I did, and you're catching a ball that's, a crossed ball. You never thought twice about how hard it was being crossed. So it's coming across, you're running 100 miles an hour, and you're doing that. And in winter, I played at Dartmouth. I played up in New Hampshire. Freezing cold. That ball would sometimes feel like a bowling ball. And there were times where, man, I did not want to hit that thing. Although I did find that if you attacked the ball,
exactly.
It was that's how you avoided. If it came and hit you, that was when you felt it.
Right. I've seen a lot of guys they use the side of their forehead.
Yeah.
To like drill it in the back of the net.
Yep. But
I
again,
wish I played soccer. There's
still some investigation to be done there. It's not only when it comes to football. But I agree with you. It became a big deal because you're thinking, well, Bob Costas was just speaking the truth, and I don't have a problem with him doing it. I applaud him for wanting to take a position and make a stand. I just look at it knowing kind of the rules and how TV works and how it's a business. Yeah, I would say he crossed the line.
Well, yeah, you're working for a brand, you're working for a shield. It's just like, you can't talk about a coach, man, if you're working for that, if you're playing for the same team. Can't talk about an owner if you're on that team. Can't talk about the business. I can't be on the NFL Network talking crazy about owners who own the network.
Now, here's the distinction, though. This is where I put the onus on the leagues. Okay, so the underlings, the broadcast partners, is it their job to police the league, to pull the covers? Or do we need the league to be upfront with its consumers and its athletes in terms of what the game is doing to them? That's where, it's like anything. It's like
I think they're doing it without saying it in terms of like, hey, we have the heads up program. This is how you properly tackle. That's what I'm saying. They're not going to say it.
Yeah, but they got forced into it.
That's what exactly. They're not going to say it.
This is the other thing for me when it comes to, okay, so they're not going to say, you don't have to say it, but take care of it. This is my number one thing when it comes to the NFL. You and I may have talked about this. And I think I talked about it with Ryan Hollins, who I do the podcast with on Thursdays and Fridays, is that I understand where you can't necessarily guarantee contracts in the NFL because just the numbers. Guys are going to get hurt, and you're going to have to replace them, and you got to keep 50-some guys to be able to play. But from a medical coverage standpoint, that should be airtight. If a guy gets hurt playing football in the NFL, then he should be taken care of. His medical coverage in order to get right, to take care of whatever his injuries are for however long he has them, that should be taken care of. That should be a certainty. And it's not. And what's really funny is I was mentioning this to a guy at the gym who was asking me, knows what I do, and we were talking, and I forgot, I don't know how we got on the subject. He asked me about the various unions of the various sports, which were the strongest or whatever, and we got on that subject, and I said, I brought up this point. Like, the medical coverage is the one thing that the league should guarantee for players. And he goes, they don't? I go, no, it's not. And I think it's improved.
Mine good's for 5 years. My medical coverage is good for 5 years, and then I got to get
and then you're on your own. Yeah, that's not the way it should be. What if whatever you sustained while you were playing lasts beyond that?
No, and it will. And then I actually applied for like the line of duty, and you get some kind of like, you get like a check every month for like 7 years or something like that. I don't know, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's my one thing. And I understand, and again, from a business standpoint, I understand the trepidation from the NFL, because you don't, like, how much is that going to cost? You want cost certainty in everything that you're spending. And you don't know how much that's going to cost. And it could be very expensive. For me, that should be built in as the price of business. So I will now get off of my soapbox. You know what? We'll save this. I want to talk about, I went to see the Warriors and the Miami Heat, and I was struck by a couple of things. The biggest being how humble the Miami Heat are now. The people, the personnel around them. When they were riding high, and they were riding high for a while, it was a whole different attitude. And they've been humbled. In fact, one of the people who works for the Heat said, "Yeah, this is what life is like when you're on a mediocre team." And I said, "Yeah, welcome to the rest of what most of the NBA experiences." So, in our next podcast, you and I are going to get into a little bit about your experience, or whether you've experienced it firsthand, or whether you witnessed it, watching franchises that were on top and fall off, and what that's like.
I've had one losing season in my entire life, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Good. I can't either. I'm also going to tell you about how there is still a resentment in certain circles when it comes to the Miami Heat and LeBron James, believe it or not, and how he left. All of that in our next podcast. Keep in mind, we're part of the United WeCast network. We also have the Get Some podcast by Gary Owen, comedian, actor, and Age Groupie by endurance athlete, mom, realtor. You want to find a way to participate in endurance sports and live a life as well. You want to check out Lindsay Heikens' podcast. Also, go to bucherandfriends.com. We have a survey there. Hit the link. It takes a couple minutes. We want to find out who it is that's listening to us and how we can better serve them. And you will be eligible for a $50 gift certificate to Amazon, which means you can basically buy whatever you want. Also, one last thing. Wherever you get your podcast, go and rate us. If it's iTunes or wherever, all you have to do is hit the number of stars. If you want to leave a comment, you can. But then screenshot that and send it to @BucherFriends, and you will be eligible to win some swag as well. All right, that's it for this edition. We will be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening.